Hello everyone, Sergio Tiffer here and welcome back to Cracking the Code, the podcast where we dive into real strategies that move the needle in your business. Today I'm honored to be joined by one of the most respected coaches in the real estate industry. Jeff Mays is a renowned speaker, trainer, and elite coach with Tom Ferry International. With decades of hands-on experience as a top producing broker and now coach, Jeff specializes in helping agents and team leaders unlock performance, lead with confidence, and scale sustainability. Jeff, it's a real privilege to have you here with us today. How are you?
Doing amazing. How about you?
Doing great. It's been a hot minute.
Good to see everybody.
And I think you recently got married, right? If I'm not mistaken.
I got married about a month and a half ago, and it was an amazing, it was an amazing wedding. And after 10 years of dating, we finally did it, and we had a great time near Virginia Beach here in Virginia.
Awesome. So do you reside in the Hampton Roads area? I think you in Richmond, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I'm actually in Richmond, Virginia, about an hour and a half south of Northern Virginia, an hour and a half west of Virginia Beach.
So, you live in Richmond, you got married about a month and a half ago. How's life? How's married life?
Everything's good.
Not many.
Married life is no different.
Not different, right? I mean, you've been together for a long time.
That's right.
So Jeff, for our audience, which is going to be, I think, close to 100,000 this time with you. I mean, you're very popular.
Love it.
You went from agent to successful broker to now a very successful coach within the Tom Ferry ecosphere. Tell us a little bit more about that story of yours, all that journey that you had and why you decided to become a coach.
Sergio, I got to tell you, I got in real estate like many agents. It was my family business. I graduated from college, I think, on a Saturday, and Monday morning, I was in real estate day one in 1990. And early on, I was very fortunate. My broker, who at the time was my stepfather as well, I learned so much about real estate. I learned what the best were doing. We were very fortunate to run into early in my career, Mike Ferry, who's Tom Ferry's dad. And we just figured out what are the best doing, and we just implemented and followed what they did. Like, I think the number one characteristic of a great agent is that they're coachable. Like, we recognize here's what they're doing or here's what they're saying. And so early on, it was instilled in me to role play, practice, get better, because these are what agents that are doing 50 or 100 or 150 deals a year are doing or saying. So I think I can actually remember, I think it was like 1991. It was probably one of the first times that I ever saw Tom speak. I think it was maybe the first time or two he had been on stage. So Tom and I go way back, and for probably 5 to 10 years, I was somewhat of I wouldn't say a top agent, but I was a pretty good, decent agent doing a fair amount of deals in my market. One thing that really changed me for a couple of years, I was part of a big team, and I was a buyer agent on that team. And I really learned how to run it like a business. My job was working with the buyers, and it was instilled in me early on to sit down and do a buyer consultation, find out exactly what the buyer is looking for. Everybody is worth 30 minutes of your time. So that was instilled in me in my first couple of years in real estate. So since then, at that point, I started what I'm really known for 15 years. I ran my family's business as a sales manager, and we pretty much had 40 to 50 agents. And on average, they were doing about 24, 26 deals a year. We were cranking out like 1,000 to 1,200 deals a year consistently.
That's a lot.
For 10 or 15 years. It really is.
Yeah, considering that you only had 50 agents, that's quite a bit. I mean, I'm sure that was a lot of work.
Yeah, what is it? The average agent is doing 2 or 3 deals a year.
Yes.
And so I was just learning from the best of the best, and we were getting coaching, and we were understanding what they were doing. So to me, it just propelled my career that way. And then once I did that for 15 years, I started my own company. I've hired agents in my office. I've got my own company here in Richmond. And then at some point, I think it was probably 2015, 2016, reached out to Tom, or we connected again. And he was like, "Hey man, you need to coach, you need to come over here." And it's been, it's taken my business to another level. So I look at it like the third act in my career to some degree.
Absolutely. So you went through all the 2008 episode. I think also in the 90s we had another crack. I mean, not as bad as the 2008. Yeah. So how do you navigate all that? I mean, I know we're going a lot, back in history, but I mean, 2008 was something that marked a lot of people. A lot of people lost their livelihood, their money, their businesses. I mean, you've been constantly successful through all those events.
I got to tell you, when we'll call it like 2008 to 2011, that period, we didn't know what we were going through. It's hard to recognize what you're going through when you're in it, if that makes sense.
Right.
So Sergio, what we recognized, like, I can remember it was one summer, it was like, the spring wasn't as good as we thought. It may have been like 2008. And everybody's like, it'll get better in the fall. Well, it didn't. And then we're like, all right, it's going to get better, in the spring. And then it didn't. And then we recognized, all right, if we had to make, and I'm just making up numbers, if we had to make 10 calls to get one appointment, we soon realized we need to make 20 calls to get one appointment. So when a market changes or shifted, and a lot of areas right now, it's a shifting market, and I'll talk about this at some point. What we started doing is we just started doubling what we were doing. When you recognize that real estate is just a numbers game, and most agents aren't playing the numbers. Right. So let's be honest, we haven't had a change or a correction in a while. We've had it pretty good for the past 5 to 7, maybe even 10 years.
And do you feel
and so it's been like this.
Do you feel that we had a correction back in 2023 or no? Do you think that was not a correction?
I think in some certain areas, in some states, I coach clients in Texas and Arizona and Florida. There are certain markets that had just this enormous appreciation growth. And of course, it only makes sense that when things change a little bit, that they're gonna feel it first. So to me, it's just it's nowhere near anything that happened in 2008 to 2010.
Yeah,
Sergio, I can remember, it was probably 2009. I was showing a $1 million house, and the listing agent said, "Hey, you're going to notice a Porsche in the garage. If you write an offer on this house, the seller will give either you or the buyer the Porsche." That's how bad, nobody was buying nothing. I mean, nothing. And so, it's nowhere near that. It was really, I don't look at it as like a real estate crash. It was a mortgage crisis that was going on, because everybody knows there were so many mortgages that were coming due from the previous 5 to 10 years. And so that's really what happened there. So we're nowhere near that. And if you think about it, everything that goes up needs to level out or come down at some point, and then it's going to go down, and then it's going to come up again. So these periods of adjustments of these, I like to say, like slow rolling hills that happen in our industry, are usually 1 to 3, maybe 5-year periods. In some areas, even in 2008 and 2010, they didn't have that much change in their business. So to me, it's just kind of in this new market, I believe the market is what it is. There's no bad market. There's no good market. There's no slow down, speed up. We're just a reflection on the market. Do you feel that way or see that?
Yeah. I mean, I'm very heavily invested in the Hampton Roads, and specifically Virginia Beach. I think it's the 5th or the 4th best performing market there is right now. So I haven't felt it like in other markets, maybe Texas, Florida, the Sun Belt and whatnot. But
we're the same way.
Yeah, but I agree with you. I mean, the market, it is what it is. We're going to go through all the cycles. You have to, reshift your strategy when that comes. But the reason why I'm asking you this is because I have a lot of clients that are on the Sun Belt and Texas, Nevada, California, and whatnot. And they're telling me, "Hey, Sergio, the market is killing me. I'm suffering a lot. I'm losing agents." And then I see them 3 weeks later in Europe. And I'm like, I thought you were suffering. I thought,
Yeah.
what's going on with this? And then, so you're telling me double your number of calls, double your effort, but a lot of agents don't seem to get that. They seem to think that they can keep, running their business as it was a year or two ago, and things will be fine.
Sergio, you know what it'll take to do that?
Uh,
You got to work. Hey, we used to allow, what's working? Anybody know what's working right now? Working. Like, to me, it's your mindset, it's your attitude, and your approach right now.
Right.
And I think in real estate, we've always got to have a positive, upbeat attitude. Like, it's almost this can-do attitude. It doesn't, again, it's not a good market. It's not a bad market. The market is what it is. You can make money in an increasing market. You can make money in a decreasing market. You can make money in a buyer's market, a seller's market. The idea that I would challenge everybody out there to think about is, what is the opportunity in your market right now?
Yes.
Where do you see a gap that maybe people aren't adjusting or taking advantage of? In some of my clients in some areas, there's an opportunity to get new construction. There's an opportunity to have conversations with builders. Maybe another market, some of my clients down in Orlando or in Florida, there's opportunities around expireds, because there's a lot of agents that are taking listings that are overpriced. Sellers are firing people more than ever.
Yes.
When it comes to a FSBO, they could honestly look at a FSBO and go, hey, you're going to have a tough time selling your home. So every market has an opportunity. So anyone that's watching this call, I would challenge you to say, what is the opportunity in the market right now?
Right. And do you think, what do you think that is, that a lot of agents are just in general scared of being honest with their clients? Say, hey, you're not going to sell this property at this price point. It's not going to move. And what was the strategy
Sergio,
behind it? How do you approach it?
Hey, Sergio, I'm a big fan of hey, Sergio, I can tell you exactly what you want to hear, or I can tell you what it'll take to get your home sold. What do you want to hear?
Right.
I can tell you the truth, or I can tell you what you want to hear. We've got clients that in really these markets where there's a lot of houses hit the market, they literally, the first thing they say on listing presentation is, if you don't have to sell, then I wouldn't advise you to sell right now.
Right.
Like, think of so much credibility in our industry when someone says, hey, it's going to be a tough market. It's not going to be easy selling your house. So if you don't have to sell, you might want to reconsider. That gives them a lot of credibility. That's a true professional to really tell that seller at that moment that this is what we got to do.
Right.
And I think we're not used to having those conversations when a market is like this. Everything is sunshine and rainbows and everything's working. But when it goes like this or goes like that, then if you think about it, we got to change what we say. We got to change the things that come out of our mouth. And we're not used to having conversations where, hey, the house has been on the market 30 days. The feedback is this, or my advice is we need to adjust or put it at this. I think agents they're scared to have difficult conversations for one reason. We know that at some point, this could be a moment where they could say, I don't like what you're saying. They could fire you. They're going to give some pushback. There's going to be, not everybody's going to say yes to this. So that's why, to me, if I was an agent that is not reaching their goals right now, we need to really practice role play. Think about the things that we're saying, because maybe we're not used to having these price reduction conversations in their market right now. I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah, it does. Although I guess you know very well that the first 7 to 14 days of the property in the market are critical. So how do you overcome the fact that you don't want to reduce it? You want to price it correctly in the first 7 to 14 days, right? So, because otherwise the buyers are going to see it as, okay, this property, what's going on? It's been sitting for 21, 30 days. Something must be happening.
So Sergio, and again, I'm role playing now. So Sergio, if you want to get 600,000, then we're going to need to price it at 575. Like, that's a strategy, is like feeling like, hey, we're going to have to underprice it to get, if we want to get this thing, it comes down to their timeline and so if you want to get this house sold in the next 7 to 14 days and you want 600, then maybe we're going to have to price it at 575, or maybe we're going to have to show that it's really a deal and we're going to price it at 550. We're not used to doing that.
Right.
We're used to be like, you're going to price it at 6 and you're going to get 610 or 620 or 650.
Not anymore.
But do you see that my language or the approach has changed in that situation?
Yeah.
So then I would go further and say, so hey Sergio, well, let me ask you this: what's going to happen if we don't sell the home in the next 7 to 14 days?
Right. Personally, I guess. Right. What's going to happen?
Yeah, you be the seller. Let's just role play for a second. So you're the seller. So let me ask you, what's going to happen if we don't get 600 in the first week or two? What are we going to do?
Well, I'm going to have to extend the lease that I have on the other property that I don't want to be. So I'm really trying to move within the next 30 days. So I'm hoping we can get this under contract in the next 7 or 14 days.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, how high is your motivation?
I would say a 9.5.
Okay, so it's super high, isn't it?
Right.
So then it's super critical that we price the house correctly. The market is actually showing that it's 600,000. So to make sure that we're in the top 3 of the amount of houses that are on the market, we probably, if you need to sell in the next, my advice would be, we need to price it at 560 or 575. Are you okay with that?
I'm okay with that. Yeah. As long as we can get something close to the 600,000, I'm okay with that.
Okay. So I think the question that most agents are asking is this seller, are they reasonable? See, we're moving into a market where it's not the time to be testing a price out. It's not the time to be taking listings where, hey, Sergio, I'm only going to sell if I get this number. They're recognizing, like, is this person reasonable? Are they going to adjust their price? Are they motivated? What's going to happen if it doesn't sell? Are they going to ask me to spend a lot of money? There's a lot of agents out there right now that have a lot of listings out there. They got a lot of marketing dollars out there, and they're not getting the return on that because they're having difficult conversations. Maybe the market is changing faster than people can keep up with. It's like catching a falling knife.
Yes,
that's a good analogy. Is maybe the market is going down faster than we can keep up with. Maybe you met this person a couple weeks or a month ago, and it was priced at this, and then even after a month or two, it's now priced at a lower number. So it's an interesting and somewhat confusing market. And the way I look at that, if there's confusion, the opportunity is to be the expert. The opportunity is to know your numbers. See, in uncertain times, people want certainty, and you bring certainty with the numbers. Numbers are the language of business. So numbers don't lie. So we're going to lean on the numbers in this situation and giving them the actual data.
And that's a good analogy that you put right there, because sometimes, you meet the client in March, and let's all agree on this. March, it was a completely different market than what it is right now.
Totally different market. Right.
In
right.
3-4 months, it's completely different.
Right.
So, and now the house may not be 500,000. Now it's 475. And
right.
Like, for example, I flip houses, that. So when I know that my property is not moving, like, I don't wait another 3 or 4 weeks. Like, I will try to slash the price quickly, because I know that there are other flippers out there. They're going to be experiencing the same. And like you said, I don't want to catch the falling knife. I want to ensure that I'm ahead of the market, that my price reduction goes accordingly with what's happening in the market as far as demand goes. But
that's right.
I'm an experienced seller because I've sold.
Right. You're going to adjust. But not everybody thinks the way you do, right?
Right. Because I'm experienced. I've sold over 400 houses.
That's right.
You've done myself. So, but agents, I think the agents have to be a little more proactive in educating their clients in that regard. Say, hey, you may want to wait another 2 or 3 weeks to cut the price, but at that point might be a little bit too late, and we're going to have to do another cut. So why don't we just cut it to this now instead of waiting another 14 days?
So Sergio, in that frame right there, and again, I love role playing, is like, here's what I'm worried about. You're the seller in this situation. Here's what I'm worried about. You want 600, but maybe it's worth 575. So if we go on the market at 600, what I'm worried about is someone else hitting the market. I'm worried about someone else maybe that doesn't know anything. I'm worried about your neighbor that maybe is a little bit more motivated. And then they put their house on the market at 575 or 550 and it sells. Well, guess what just started happening? The price of your home just went down.
Yes.
And it can almost be like a house of cards if you don't watch out for that. So then what happens if a foreclosure hits the market or a short sale hits the market? It can change relatively really quick to a buyer's market, or values are going down quickly in a different market.
Right.
That's the concern or the conversation I think we need to be having with our sellers.
The falling knife, you're explaining to your agents, hey, if you need this, or the agents have to explain to the seller, if you need this price and your neighbor comes and prices a little bit better than you may have yourself now in a different situation, because now your house is not worth 575, it's not worth 550. But also to consider, there is one less buyer in the market, and we don't know what is that for buyers that you have in your area. So that buyer is gone. What do we do now?
That's right.
Right.
That's right. So now, guess what? Instead of looking for sellers, we're looking for what? We're looking for buyers. That's the key. That's the shift that's happening. Is now we gotta have a balanced market. We gotta find buyers out there as well, to some degree. The back to the conversation with the seller though is like, let's say, like, I look at the values as like this. Let's say I want you to think about where's the top of the market. Maybe you're in the top of the market right now. Maybe the top of the market was a couple years ago. So to me, the way to explain it is, I think we got to, when the sales cycle is a little bit longer and it's taking things, we know that deals are taking longer. People are being a little bit flakier. Houses are not selling right off the bat on the first time they hit the market. So if and I'm just using numbers, if the home at the peak of the market was 400, and my clients are having these kind of conversations, is let's say you paid 300 for it a couple years ago. It went all the way up to 400. So they're having conversations. So I'm recommending we price it at, let's say the number is here. They're still ahead. I think that's what we got. For most, there's never been this amount of equity ever in homes in the United States right now. So we got to put things in perspective. You can't lose something you don't have. Like, you could have gotten that, whether that is a year ago, 6 months ago, or 2 years ago, but you didn't. So it's worth this. That's the best thing about real estate. It's an open market. You're going to quickly understand whether you price this right or not.
Yeah.
So we've got to get better at explaining that. So for somebody that bought, let's say they bought this house, for 300 in 2020 or 21, it went up, and let's say the peak of the market was 23, and now we're changing. So watch this. They haven't gone down it hasn't dropped that much. You're still ahead.
You're still ahead.
And that's what I'm seeing. We got to go a little bit deeper at explaining, backing up why we're suggesting this number, because sellers, Sergio, got to be honest. If you listed your home, you'd overprice it. If I list my home, I'd overprice it. It's called human nature, guys.
Yes.
People do that. So if you think about what I'm saying, is we got to get better at explaining the market to them, and not just being like, your home is worth this. Well, how come? Because the numbers show that. You're not going to get a listing. That's why you've heard this over and over again. The cream will rise to the top. Experienced agents know how to explain this in a changing, shifting, balanced, or downturning market where most people have never had to do this. That's the only difference.
Exactly. And, you coach a lot of agents. You're very well known for your sales strategy and your sales strength. Right. And I know that as a coach, you have to teach about recruiting and all there's other stuff, but you're very well known for your sales strength. So what do you think that is? What is it that you think that you do differently and that you teach your agents differently that other coach may not?
I'm known for taking a complex issue and keeping it simple. I think we overthink things. I think we think too much about things. It comes how do we make it simple? when it comes to, I used to say this all the time. I'm doing an open house and I see someone walking into my open house. My mindset right then is like, here comes my new best friend. And I'm going to turn on the charm. I'm going to listen to them. I'm not going to be overbearing. I'm not going to make a lot of statements like, you need to do this or whatever. I'm just coming from a place of like, it's got to be from a place of curiosity. It's got to come from a place of empathy. It's got to, the questions need to be, hey, Sergio, help me understand or tell me more. I see too many agents there. They get an objection or a hesitation and they feel like they need to handle it and they need to say this and they need to say this thing right at that moment. That's not how life works. It's about creating real deep relationships. This is a relationship business. So we've got to slow down to speed up. We've got to really build deep relationships. Hey, Sergio, let me ask you this. What's the number one reason why sellers and buyers choose an agent that they're working with? You know, the number one reason?
I would say because someone referred them to them. I would think. No.
They like them.
They like them. Okay.
It's likability. See, trust is a part of that, but you would think like you've obviously built the trust. The top agents that I coach, when they go on a listing presentation, they spend the first 15, 30 minutes just really getting to know that seller and helping them understand. And they're going to ask questions like, what are you looking for in an agent? Tell me about, in a perfect world, how you would like this to play out. Let's talk about your timeline. Let's talk about what you love about this house. What you don't love about that. They're trying to build deep connections at that moment. They're not just going in and doing their presentation. They're trying to win them over and understand if they can help them out at that moment.
So do you prefer to work with sellers or buyers, or you don't really care about that?
I think we've always, in our industry, you got to list the last. And I think the leading indicator of your success is the number of appointments you go on. So first off, you got to do whatever it takes to make money and to reach
Right.
your goals. But to me, if you want to have longevity in this business, you got to have this listing first mentality. You got to think about I want you to ask yourself, what are you doing consistently right now to take listings? Like consistently is not like trying it out for a week or two or a month or two. Like, what are you doing for the next 52 weeks? That has an SOP. That is rinse and repeat. Like it's an idea that you're doing over and over again. I think that's the real issue in our business right now is agents aren't running it like a business. They're not doing anything consistently, and the market is changing and they're getting caught. They're like, uh-oh, I haven't built a solid foundation. You're seeing that, right? I haven't built a solid foundation on getting business over and over again. And there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of worry right now. So to me, if you're worried, if you're fearful, if the first half of this year hasn't started off the way you wanted it to, you've got to ask yourself, what are 3 moves that I need to make in the next 6 months to make the next 6 months better than the last 6 months? I'm asking my client, Sergio, are you in momentum or are you stuck? And so the clients that say I'm in momentum, then I say, all right, what do we got to do to keep this train rolling? What do we got to do to stay on this surfboard, to ride this wave? What do we got to continue to do? Let's find what you really did well in the first 6 months and let's add, fuel to this fire. Let's continue to do that. And then the agents that say they're stuck, okay, how come you're stuck? Is it you're stuck because what? You're feeling like you're not talking to enough people, you're not setting enough appointments. But let's get to the real root of the problem. Maybe your schedule is not correct. Maybe you don't have the right habits. What does that look like for you? And why are you stuck? And then the next question I'm asking is, again, I just mentioned is like, how do we make the next 6 months better than the last 6 months? And what do you need to start doing? What do you need to stop doing?
Don't go on vacations.
And that's right. If you're complaining about not having money, why are you going on vacation? That I was always trained in this industry. I actually have been raised in real estate. Like you don't go on vacation unless you deserve it. Let that sink in. We're not salaried employees. We're independent contractors. So to me, the question is, do you deserve it? Can you pay for it without putting on your credit card? We may need to cut back. We may need to do things that we're not used to doing. We may need to buckle down and work a little bit harder. So to me, it's just it's a fun, interesting business, and you see all different kinds of things that are happening out there. But if you're feeling that, that anxiousness or that anxiety, and when you feel that, my advice is get on the phone. My advice is dive into your CRM. My advice is to do more open houses. My advice is to get in action, and that will solve that worry or that fear.
I also wanted to ask you, so I've seen agents that are very successful within a team, right? They get their leads provided to them. They go on listing appointments or whatever that is, buyer's appointments, and they do pretty well. They're doing 15, 17 millions a year. That's a lot of money. And now they feel they can go on their own and they want to create their own team or they want to go independent. And then everything comes apart. Like they can't make it happen. They went from 15 millions to 1 or 2 millions a year. Now that they've become independent, what do you?
It's not as easy. It's not as easy as they thought. Okay, this is a hard business, and these teams have built their brand, and these teams have opportunities, and these teams have the staff and the support, and I can tell you, my cycle was the first year I got in real estate, I sold 14 houses. I was like, woo, I'm rolling. The next year I sold 8, and you know why? Because I didn't do what I did the first year I was in real estate. So when I did 8, I got a little scared. And guess what I did? I joined a team. And for the next couple years, I learned how to run a business. I learned exactly having a schedule. I learned I had to call X number of people. I think our goal was 50 conversations every week. I had to have a goal of at least 4 appointments every week. I was an adult and I ran it like a business. And that was the best experience I ever had in my career. But then at some point I was like, hey, I can do this on my own again. And guess what happened? It wasn't, I looked at it like I could double my business and do it on my own. And I went out in that 5th or 6th year in real estate, and it was a challenge again. I had to build my business up. It's not as easy as it looks. Real estate, what is it? Like 87% of agents fail in their first 18 months.
Yes.
You got a better chance of starting a restaurant and being successful. So the odds are stacked against us. So to me, I just think, you got to, if I could change one thing about every agent, and I think I just said this a minute ago, is it's the consistency and running it like a business. You got to wake up with a purpose. You got to wake up with a plan. My advice is start every day at 0, Sergio, meaning you got to think, I have no pending deals. I have nothing under contract. I have nothing in savings. I have nothing in my account. And when you start every day at 0, you work so much harder.
Right.
See, most people, they have some success. They pat themselves on the back. And then it comes to that real estate roller coaster. I'm rich, I'm poor, I'm busy, I'm not poor. And that is the cycle of real estate agents. And we don't want that. We want this. And the agents that I think I coached probably 12 agents that are on track to do over $1 million this year in GCI income. They're running it like a business. They're consistent. I've actually got a client, Samantha Curry. Listen to this. Last month, she closed 73 million in income.
Wow.
Volume, in Florida, in Palm Beach. How'd she do that? She's consistent. Her social media is on point. She's running it like a business. She's got a lot of great connections. She even does open houses. She shows buyers. She's doing it all. And the work that she put in March, April, and May paid off in May and June. See, the work that you're doing today in July will pay off in August and September. So if you're not doing anything right now to get listings, if you're not doing anything to build your pipeline, don't complain when you're not that busy in September and October.
Right. And that was going to be my next question is like, what do you see regularly on these high producers? Like, do they have anything in common? But I think you sum it up pretty well right there. I mean, it's just consistency is they're always hungry. And they're coachable.
They're coachable. Like, well, watch this. Everybody's like, you're crazy. My dad was a college basketball coach. So I was raised from a coach. So my dad was find out what the best are doing and just do it. And you're halfway there to success. Most people, hey, you should do this. I've got clients, the ones that are rolling that I mentioned, they are so coachable. I can remember Carolyn Young. Her story is she came into my schedule probably 6 or 8 years ago. She was cruising along, making $400,000 to $500,000 a year, but she wanted more. She knew she had so much more in the tank. So our first call, Sergio, I said, where do you think you could get a lot of business from or a lot of listings from? She said, I've tried expireds. I would call them and I felt like I was pretty good at it. I go, all right, here's what I want you to do. First call. I said, I want you to talk to 25 expireds in the next week. Sitting there going, she's not going to do it. She's not going to do 25. She goes, okay. Well, the next week, same kind of call. I go, how many people did you talk to? She said 27. My first thought, well, right then was, she's coachable. She goes, this sucks. I was crying. They were not nice. This isn't good. I don't like this. And I said, well, what did you say? And what did they say? And what did you say? And then we practiced, role played, figured out a better way to say it. We adjusted. She comes back the third week. She goes, talk to 25 people. Okay, she's doing it again. She's now I'm seeing consistency.
Right.
And then she said, I'm starting to get this. I think I got one appointment. I go, all right, let's do this, adjust again. The third week, she goes, you're not going to believe this. I got 2 appointments. I think I'm really getting the hang of this. Now, I say to most agents, when would you have quit? Would you ever made the 25? Would you have quit after the first no? I mean, she basically talked to, we'll call it 50 or 60 people until she got a 1 yes. Most people would have quit then. Most people would have come back and say, this isn't for me. But not Carolyn, because she had a purpose. She had a why. She had a reason to add this pillar because she wanted to focus on her retirement. She was thinking 10 years out. So then fast forward ahead, Sergio, 6 months later, she goes, you're not going to believe this. I looked at my numbers. She took 32 listings in the month of September, her first year of coaching. The previous year, she took 30 listings the whole year. Same agent, 30 all year and 32 in 1 month. She was coachable. She was consistent. She practiced. She didn't give up. Fast forward ahead, $400,000 to $500,000. I think her GCI with her team and everything is probably in the 5 to 6 million right now.
Yeah, I know Caroline directly and personally. She's a great business woman. I didn't know she coached with you. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Honestly. Yeah.
So, but the idea is she did it. She did the work. And I think that's my message to everybody out there is like, you have so much more in you. I see the potential in so many people out there. And I just want to ask everybody, like, what are you scared of? What are you worried about? Like, there's this fear of rejection. There's this fear of like making a mistake, or this fear of like, I'm going to go to real estate jail.
Right.
In my 35 years, I've never been sued or gone to real estate jail. Okay. I think we overthink things that never happen. I learned this from Tom. Tom used to he always still says is like, what's the worst case scenario? What's the best case scenario? And what's the most likely scenario? But we always think about what? The worst case scenario, right? We always think like, oh my God, it's going to be like this. The oh my God really never happens. And the best case scenario rarely happens either. It's the most likely thing that's going to happen. So to me, what are you afraid of? The cave that you're afraid to enter is probably where the opportunity is. So what is that for everybody out there? What are you scared of? Is it calling expireds? Is it even calling your past customers? Is it saying the right thing in an open house? Is it just shooting a video and posting on social media? Is it with AI, everything going on right now? Like we've got to be dialed into that too, Sergio. You totally get it and understand it. We're not going to be replaced. An agent's not going to be replaced.
No.
But the agent that embraces AI will replace you. So let that sink in. Things are changing faster than we can even keep up with. One of my clients, Sergio, texted me a video that he's sending out to his past clients, letting them know the value of their home. And it totally looks like him, sounds like him. It's his avatar, but it's not him.
No.
And he's like, I just sent this out to 20 of my past clients and 5 called, said that was wonderful. Let's connect. Let's talk about the home value. So he saved so much time and it was legit. It totally looked like him.
Yeah, it's just AI won't replace us, like you said, but it's going to exponentially allow us to do way more.
Way more.
Way more. It's now let's get a little bit into my territory, which is assistance. Now, you said, all these high producers, they go from, 20 houses a year to now listing 20 houses in a month. How do you approach them when it's time for them to get help?
The days, Tom has said this for a while, the days of the solo agent trying to do every single thing is a thing of the past. Like when we first get in real estate, think about this, everybody. We first get in real estate, we have to do every single thing. We got to do the marketing. We got to do the accounting. We got to do the open houses. We got to write the contract. We got to do every single thing. I'll never forget one of the first summits that I went to. Tom brought an agent on stage and was like, hey, I want you to hop, and then I want you to do this, and I want you to spin this. And he had them doing like 5. That's the average agent. And guys, you're only going to go so far until you hire an assistant, a VA. The question is, why don't you have a VA? Like, I can remember in my heyday, like we had to hire a full-time employee. Like, it's so easy to now, maybe I'm going to hire somebody to do social media. Maybe I'm going to hire somebody to do editing. Maybe I'm going to hire a transaction coordinator. The list goes on and on. The question is, why don't you have a VA? Those that I mentioned that are making a ton of money, most of them have 2 to 4 VAs. Right. Most of them have a second person helping them out. And I just think that, it is the path of where everything is heading in our industry is you're going to get crushed by people that have more support. So I want you to think about if you had one thing that you knew that you don't like doing or you're not really good at, but you had someone do that for you, what would that be? And what would it look like on the other end? Like, how much business could you get?
I have that
same analogy. How much time could you save?
The same analogy I use it with them and say, hey, if you are to bring one assistant and you gain 4 or 3 hours a day so that you can convert one client a week, or let's say one client every 2 weeks.
One extra, right.
Right. So what is the ROI on that assistant? Because, if you convert one client, you get $15,000 in GCI and you're paying, anywhere between $1,500 to $2,500 on an assistant. So you're making $10,000 to $12,000 on that. Only if you convert one person. What you just said is, right, if I get 1 lead a week, 4 a month times 12, that's 48 extra opportunities that I don't have. Let's say you convert at a low rate of 10%. There's 5 deals from that one idea right then. So if you're going to get 5 extra deals, how much do you make per deal? Let's say I make, $15,000 right there. That is, what is that? $75,000 from that one idea or that one VA or that one part-time VA that can not be full-time, but are doing that job that you don't want to do. It totally pays for itself. We got to think differently. We're thinking too small. So that's why I think everyone needs to at least understand what you guys are offering, or understand that this is where
the next level. I see agents all the time. They're stuck in this 18 to 24 a deal range. And if you want to get up to 36 or 50, you can't do it on your own. You're going to have to hire a VA. So if you want to take it to the next level, this is the solution.
Because that's the objection I get a lot of the time. I said, well, I'm busy myself. And if I bring an assistant, what do I do with that assistant? I say, okay, well, give them half of the stuff that you're doing so you can get extra 50% of the time and then go on hunt for deals. Use that time to do something productive. But I just, many times you can get passed through that mentality. And it's sad because they have so much potential.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of focusing on one appointment a day. Imagine if you focus on one appointment a day, wake up every day going, what have I got to do to get in front of a seller or a buyer today? That has led me to my success in my career, just that one idea. One appointment a day turns 5 in a week. That comes to what, 20 in a month? That's 240 extra appointments in a year. You're going to sell some houses. You're going to be busier than you can handle. Like, that's the whole idea, is one appointment a day is really the consistency around that mindset is what you need right now in this type of market. Hey, I really appreciate this, Sergio. This has been amazing.
How can people find you online? Can you tell us your Instagram, Facebook?
Yeah, my Instagram is Jeff Mays _RE. So I will definitely follow me and I'll follow you. And if anybody has any questions, you can reach out to me there.
Perfect. We'll put it out here. Thank you, Jeff, for your time. I appreciate it.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one. See you, Sergio. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you for tuning in and cracking the code. We hope you found this conversation as valuable as we did. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to follow us, like, share, and leave a comment. Your support helps us keep bringing a top-tier guest and delivering content that helps you grow your business and unlock your full potential. Until next time, keep showing up, keep evolving, and keep cracking the code.